name is Fields Mosley. If you don't know me already, I'm the Communications Director here at Maricopa County. And through doing these press conferences, we're hoping to empower voters, give them timely information, combat misinformation that might be out there, and of course answer any questions from members of the news media who are here. So a little update on press credentials. I thank you all that have submitted for your press credentials. We've approved more than 200 journalists so far. So people from as far away as Korea, Japan, Netherlands. Some of these are U.S.-based teams that are coming in to cover elections and how they work, and of course security around elections as we get closer to in this 2022 cycle. So today we have a number of people available to answer questions. They're going to give a short presentation as well. I have the chairman of the Board of Supervisors, Bill Gates, also the county recorder, Stephen Richer, and elections directors Scott Jarrett and Ray Valenzuela also here. Ray has a short presentation for you guys today as well. So Chairman Gates is going to have some opening remarks. He'll be followed by Ray and then the recorder. And then a few rules of the road for those of you who haven't been here before. I see everyone is seated for the most part, unless you're running a camera at the back of the room. I thank you for that. Jesse, if you're asking a question, please raise your hand. I will recognize you. Jesse has a microphone. She'll bring you the microphone, and that's so people on the YouTube feed that are watching that way can hear you ask that question, and so they're not guessing what you asked. So when you address us and ask your question, please tell us who you are and what organization you're with. And hopefully nobody feels the urge to shout over each other. We're here to answer all your questions, no secrets. And if you have data questions, something more complicated that we have to research, please give us a little time. We'll get back to you by email or a phone call later today, hopefully, if it's not too complicated. Finally, if you represent a Spanish language station, radio station, TV station, or if you need some translation at all, when we're in the Q&A part of this, we're happy to have you come up and translate for that, or we can also address some of the questions that have been asked and answered during the time later on, and make sure you get those answers in Spanish for your Spanish language audience. So with that, I'll introduce Chairman of the Board of Supervisors, Bill Gates.
Thank you, Fields. Great to see everyone today. Thank you so much for being here to cover this important issue. We are excited here at Maricopa County that the election is underway. Just on Tuesday, we completed the successful logic and accuracy test, and that's witnessed by all of the political parties, and it demonstrates that our tabulation machines are going to count the ballots accurately. And then yesterday, we started mailing the ballots out. So maybe you get a text like I do when your ballot is mailed out. I got mine yesterday, love that. And I encourage all of you who aren't signed up for that, go ahead, go on our website, sign up for that, and you get the latest and greatest and know when your ballot is headed your way. We're going to talk today about the checks and balances that are in place. You know, it's, again, unfortunately, there continues to be a lot of misinformation out there about our election system. And so today we're going to talk about some of those checks and balances that are there to ensure the security of the process and the integrity of your vote. From the time that your ballot is created to the time that we canvass the election at the end, there's a check on the system to ensure that not only legal ballots are counted, but also that people who aren't supposed to vote don't. And like I said, you'll hear about some of those checks and balances today. These safeguards, which by the way, they're not new, these have been in place for decades. They are why I have confidence that our system is safe and that we can tell all of our residents, whether they're Republicans, Democrats, Independents, that their votes matter. So again, thank you for being here today, and we certainly appreciate you covering this important election.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And next we'll have Ray Valenzuela come up. He's one of our co-directors of elections.
Good afternoon, and thank you. And I echo the chairman's thank you to the media for allowing us to present this information so we can have well-informed voters. What I'm going to speak to, because it's the division I oversee, is early voting, and also because it just started yesterday. So some of the numbers, just to giving you some raw numbers and a little bit of information on the process. As far as the numbers go, we did mail 1.9 million, nearly 1.9 million yesterday. And as of today at 12:30, checking the numbers, we're at exactly 1,922,122 requests in-house, and that number continues to grow. So again, voters can continue to request ballots. The deadline for that, and you'll see, I know we had some calendars up there that the voters could see. The last day to make a request for those of you that are wanting to vote at your new polling place called your couch, please exercise that right. Go to request.maricopa.vote. That deadline closes the Friday prior, which is October 28th by 5 p.m. So again, you have a lot of options. One of those is to, again, exercise that right to vote. So 1,922,122 to date, and that continues to grow. A lot of folks will be surprised. We actually have returned ballots. This election is actually underway, and you'll ask how, since we just mailed yesterday. But a lot of folks aren't aware that we have federal law requires military and overseas voters to be allowed to be sent ballots 45 days out. So on September 24th, we mailed to those military voters. Approximately 6,322 as of, again, noon today are eligible and qualified military and overseas, and we have a total of 822 of those ballots already returned. So again, if anybody is eligible and should have the right as those military servicemen and women, the right that are defending the democracy. So 822 of those have been returned. We also have our in-person sites that opened yesterday. 12 of them, and we had no issues. Those opened on time, and we had a total of 313 voters utilize that in-person voting. Again, not a lot of voters, but that will grow, and obviously every vote counts. And as of 12:30 today, I'm running these numbers. We had 129 additional voters. That gets us to 442 voters today that have voted in person or exercise that in person in voting. So again, want to emphasize that we have the early voting has begun as of 45 days ago with the military and overseas, but we are well underway, and you still have the ability to request that ballot by 5 p.m. on October 28th. One of the other questions is, when can we expect, or voters expect, to see these ballots? So the 1.9 million that went out for all of our able, active early voting list voters and one-time requests, those check now. Some voters probably will, even though you just mailed, but the average is 2 to 6 days. So the bulk of voters will see them tomorrow, Saturday, with some of our rural counties seeing those within that 4, 5, 6 day window. But again, look now, and you should be having those in your mail if you are, again, an able active early voting list voter or one-time request. When should they return the ballot? Now, this one is a little bit, again, it's a choice, but we're trying to emphasize that if you want to have your voice heard through the sound of your vote, and you want it to be the first part of our release results at 8 p.m. on election night, we recommend that we have that ballot in our hands by the Saturday before. So November 5th, if we have it in our hands, we will be able to signature verify it. One of the checks and balances that Chairman Gates talked about, 100% of those are signature verified by humans, citizen boards of differing parties, and they have to then be processed and tabulated. So if we have those in our hands by November 5th, Saturday, they will be part of that first release of results. Now, if you're not interested in that and you do have a steadfast deadline that it has to be by state law, received by us by 7 p.m. on election night. Postmarks do not count. So that's important to let folks we're a migratory state where a lot of folks come in from different rules. Every state's have different rules. So again, 7 p.m. on election night, we have to have it in our hands, whether it's dropped off or mailed by you so that it's received then. So if you want to mail it and you're going to want to be part of that 8 p.m. release, then we recommend, again, mail it October 28th, 29th, so we get it by November 5th. If you want to and don't necessarily mind that not getting it in part of that first results, then November 1st is the recommended date to mail that back, so we have it by November 8th, 7 p.m. So again, just a thing, but early is best so we don't have any backlog so we can actually give you results faster. The next issue is the number of locations, or if you do have your ballot and you did opt to vote at your new polling place called your couch, as I like to say, then you can opt to mail it back, and you can also opt to drop it off. So we do have our 12 sites that are open now. We will be opening up in those in phases. So October 28th, we have an additional, 44, which will get us to 56 sites. November 7th, 128 total. And then on election day, November 8th, the breadth of the remainder 223 vote anywhere vote centers. I want to make sure I say that because a lot of folks, if you have a ballot and you're driving out of town and you can go in through Wickenburg, then drop it off at Wickenburg. You don't have to drop it at a assigned location. Or if you want to vote early in person, again, you can take it, you can go to the vote center near your office or drop off your ballot if you're one of these 1.9 million voters that requested. Last but not least, well, let me also make a couple of plugs because I know we have some of our B-ballot ready. If you are not aware where to go, our locations.maricopa.vote, again, locations.maricopa.vote will give you the hours of those 12 sites that are open. When those next set are open, it'll give you the nearest location based on an address, but you can also look for Dropbox-only locations through that locations.maricopa.vote. But last but not least, how do we get folks, and my heart was warmed yesterday to see all the social media posts of folks saying, I got my status, I got my text, and it said, you know, welcome, this is Maricopa County, your ballot has mail. So as the chairman indicated, one of those checks and balances is transparency. We want you to know and feel comfortable that you're now ready and expecting your ballot. But the more important part is once you mail it to us, you want to know, did we receive it? So signing up for that ballot status subscription service will allow for that. It adds transparency, but more importantly, we have 1.9 voters on the active early voting list. I would like to see 1.9 voters signed up for that subscription because that's going to tell you when you mail it to us, when we receive it, you're going to get that text or email that says your ballot has been received, is undergoing signature verification, and has counted, most importantly. So that adds that layer of checks and balances and transparency to the process. So to do that, and you'll hear this often, and I know a lot of the media has already covered this, and we appreciate that, but if you as a voter want to know your ballot status and get that automatically, text the word join to 628-683, and or you can go to what is shown up here, our bballotready.vote page, and that is a personal dashboard for you. That's going to give you all your information as to where we mailed the ballot. Do we have the right mailing address? Do we have everything that's on your voter registration, but more importantly, your ballot status live? And incidentally, there is a link there to sign up so that you don't have to go every time to look at it. And again, one more time, we'll send you automatically your ballot status. Have we received it? Have we verified it? And has it counted? So with that said, those are the main topics for early voting, and I'll turn it back over to Fields.
All right, thank you so much, Ray. Next, we have Recorder Stephen Richer, who's going to come up and talk a little bit more about voter registration, early voting, and all that.
All right, fantastic. So as Bill mentioned, a lot of these practices have been in place for a long time, but then we've continuously improved, and we've added more, and we've added more, and we added the text message service, we added the B-Ballot Ready service. So one of the services that's new for this year is the informed delivery component, which is another component of making sure that you can track your ballot through all stages of the process. So we've done this in partnership with the USPS. So if you are signed up for informed delivery, maybe you don't always pay attention to those emails, but pay attention this time. These are the emails you get from USPS that tell you this is going to be in your physical mailbox today. And it will tell you that your ballot is going to be in your physical mailbox. And it's even going to have an image of your yellow ballot packet, and it's going to be in clickable format such that it will take you automatically to bballotready.vote. So just one of the minor items, but of the many items that we continue to improve to make this system more voter-friendly, make this system more transparent. Voter registration. Since we last met, the voter registration deadline for this November 8th election has ended. In the last week, actually just this week, we received 25,000 voter registration forms in the day and the day before the deadline for the voter registration period. Janine and her team have already processed 18,000 of those. So anyone who registered to vote, even though you might not get a mail ballot at the same time, you still can request a mail ballot if you want, or you can show up to any of the voting locations if you registered to vote in a timely manner, which was this year 28 days before the election day. Bill has mentioned a few times that we hope to make this the most transparent election ever, and I've mentioned my personal aspiration of being one of the most transparent elected officials that possibly can be. And so to that effect, we're going to continue to have those, but we've also been doing lots of other things, whether it's through our website, whether it's through our social media, whether it's through our tours, whether it's through our videos of Phil the Ballot dancing to 50 Cent, which was pretty fantastic. Hope you saw it. But also, and maybe more fundamentally, communicating with voters who let us know what they're wondering about, what they have questions on. Just yesterday, we received 500 emails to our general voter info inbox. We replied to all of those, and we replied to almost all of them within 30 minutes. So that's the type of customer service that we're focused on. That's the type of transparency. That's the type of question answering that we're really trying to get very good at here in Maricopa County. If you called in, the Maricopa County call center goes through what we call the Star Center, and that's done in partnership with Assessor Eddie Cook and Treasurer John Allen, who have been fantastic partners, and Brent and the team there at the Star Center has done an amazing job of bringing on temporary workers who are knowledgeable about level 1, level 2 questions about election administration. And right now, through September and for the first half of this month, the average call wait time was under 1 minute for elections calls, and they were able to resolve 93% of those calls in the call. So we're very pleased about that, and that's, again, just towards this goal of making sure that this is the most transparent election we can possibly make it. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Recorder Richer. So at this point, we'll take some questions, if you have any questions. So please let me know. And again, please tell us who you are and which organization you're representing. You guys going to let us off that easy? I've got a question from this gentleman in the back. Hang on a second. Please speak into the, and tell us who you are.
I'm with KPNX News.
It's on. It's going through the YouTube feed.
I'm with KPNX News. My name is Lance Neff. I have one question from Stephen Richer. What would you say to voters who believe our voting machines are easily hacked?
Well,
Recorder Richer.
So we have to begin by defining what you mean by a voting machine, because I think that term has been used a little casually for this process. In Arizona, we have a physical paper ballot for every single vote cast. Now, 99.99% of those ballots are marked by hand. You all do it. You use a blue or black pen at your voting location of your couch, as Ray mentioned, or you go into an early voting location, you use a blue or black pen, or you use the felt tip pen if you're voting on election day. There is a very, very, very small number of people who use the accessible voting devices that are available at the voting locations that are those for who need audio or visual or ambulatory assistance. And this device, which has a screen, you can touch it and it will mark a paper ballot. So you will still have a paper ballot associated with it, but fewer than 500 people use these for the November 2020 election. And it is, again, for those who need assistive needs. Some people have used voting machines in the context of a digital voting device. Now, the number of jurisdictions that have those are vanishingly few. 93% of jurisdictions in the United States now have a paper ballot for every single vote cast, and Arizona has long been the case in that respect. There are 7% of jurisdictions where you can still transmit a vote through a digital format, and it doesn't produce a paper record. If you're talking about the tabulation equipment, that's the domain of the Board of Supervisors, but they've done an excellent job at making sure that this equipment is federally certified, this equipment is state certified, it's tested prior to the election through a logic and accuracy test that Bill mentioned and that the Secretary of State performed and that the county did its own separate logic and accuracy test. We do a post-election hand count audit by the political parties. The political parties sit in groups of 3, and they count a statistically significant number of ballots, and then they match that to results that they do not know, but which are the machine rolls. They make sure that it matches. It matched 100% in the 2020 general election. It matched in the August primary. Our machines have worked. They've always gone through the test. They've always been successful. And then, again, we will do a post-election logic and accuracy test to, again, once again, make sure that the machines are reading the ballots as intended. Hopefully that's thorough.
Thank you, Recorder Richer. Next question. Nicole?
Nicole Grigg with ABC 15. Whoever wants to take this, I'm sure it's going to be the reporter, but two questions. Have you heard of reports of civilians, Dropbox watchers, camping outside of drop boxes to watch voters at this time yet?
Do you want the second question?
Let's just take the first one first. Do you want, have you?
Yes, I have.
Please, Reporter Richard.
All right.
So is it happening already here in Maricopa County?
We believe that there was a group in the vicinity of the Mesa Juvenile Court System, which is where we only have 2 outdoor drop boxes in Maricopa County. One's at our central tabulations facility, and the other is at the county-owned Mesa Juvenile Courts building. We have live stream cameras on both of those, and of course you can also drop off your ballot at any of the 12 voting locations that are currently open, or at that drop box called the USPS box. I heard reports and saw reports online of a group that was in the vicinity of the Mesa Juvenile Courts. Of course, as we always say, any attempt to deter, to intimidate a lawful voter is unlawful, and that should be immediately reported, and reported, please, to us. We'd love to hear about that, but also to law enforcement.
Okay.
And if you are ever feeling unsafe, the first call always has to be 911.
Thank you. And then my second question, have you received reports of voters receiving flyers to only use a blue ballpoint pen and to vote in person only on election day? Have you heard anything like that?
I have.
And what would you say to that?
That every day prior to election day, knock yourself out. Any blue or black pen, it goes back in an envelope. It has time to dry. It comes to our facility. We scan the barcode. We make sure that voter profile only has one vote associated with it. We would deactivate any other packets that have been sent out. We then capture an image of the signature. We verify that signature. It goes through a signature audit queue. It then goes to a ballot tabulation board, which is a bipartisan team. And then it goes to our tabulation, our central tabulator. So it's had lots of time to dry off. On election day, if you get a ballot printed and you fill it out, you have the opportunity to put it directly into the mini tabulators that are at the voting locations. Those mini tabulators get along better with felt tip pens that dry quickly. So that's really the only reason. All the votes will be counted. It will all work. The only reason we asked you to do that is because ballpoint pens can build up residue inside these mini tabulators because they don't dry as quickly, and that would cause us to potentially have to send a technician out, which would cause us to hold up everyone for a little bit. And we were so successful with line management in the August primary that we would love to accomplish that again in the November general election, which is why we just asked you to use that pen.
Anything else on that, Nicole? Okay. Sasha.
Sasha Hepka with the Arizona Republic. So I've got 2 questions. One is for Mr. Richard, but the other I think will either go to Scott or Ray. I don't know, which would you like to take first?
Let's take the one. Recorder Richard's on a roll, so let's.
All right.
We'll get him first.
Okay, so Recorder Richard. My understanding is that there is a prominent Republican lawyer, Tim Lasota, who is asking the AG to investigate your use of the Recorder website to publish a letter from the County Association of Recorders, the Association of County Recorders against Proposition 309. I just wanted to see if you had any comment on that. Are you concerned about that?
Sure. Thank you, by the way, for your very thorough piece on the early voting process. It was laid out all the steps, including tracking the ballot. So thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, no, absolutely. So regarding Proposition 309, the County Recorders Association has taken positions on lots of legislative proposals. We all know that the state legislature indulged over 300 bills during the last 2 sessions to change election administration in some capacity that range from very small administrative changes to broad sweeping changes of the system. Proposition 309 purports to or aims to change the early ballot process by requiring voters to put either, their birth date and then either the last four of their social security number or their 10-digit driver's license on the ballot affidavit envelope. We believe, as a County Recorders Association, that that is a solution in search of a problem. There has not been one instance of early ballot fraud that would have been deterred by such a preventative measure, and we believe that public policy should be driven not by politics, not by fear-mongering, but by what's good for the system. And unfortunately, at the same time as it doesn't solve a problem, it doesn't solve a problem, it actually potentially damages the situation, because it does a few things. One, it imposes a new regulatory regime on the individual voter. Two, it puts out personal identifying information that is potentially sensitive into the ecosystem, because we all know that these 1.9 million ballots are going to be transferred back and forth, and the current ballot has no such sensitive information, such as the last four of your social or your date of birth. Three, it will significantly delay the tabulation process. We estimate that it will take 4 times longer than it currently does for the county to process each individual ballot, meaning if you want a higher percentage of your results at 8 p.m. on election night, this is not the path to success. And then lastly, we saw from Texas, which implemented a similar measure, that this caused a lot of screening out of false positives, meaning people who actually were valid voters but did not supply the requisite information to have their vote counted. And we believe that this would put us in a new territory, because if you look at the western states, which are very heavy mail state, and Arizona is a heavy mail state, Utah, Colorado, Nevada, Washington, Oregon, California, Hawaii, all mail states, all of them only require proof of identity through the signature process. So we put out a letter that reflected the opinion of the County Recorders Association. I wish this was a time where I could say, bluster on about, inappropriate questions from the media or fake news or whatever it is, but I will tell you that if I did it again, I would not have put it out through the County Recorder's Office, and I take full responsibility for that. We've taken it down. It is the position. It was informational, but the admonition at the top, which said vote no on 309, was, I believe, not appropriate to post on the county website, and therefore we've taken it down.
When you say not appropriate, he seemed to imply that it's actually stated in his letter that he believes that it was illegal.
So he's welcome to file a complaint. I believe that this has already been resolved.
Thank you.
Yep.
And then for you guys, just really quickly, I'm just wondering if we could have an update on temporary election staff recruitment. So that's across the board for both poll workers and then also warehouse workers, so on and so forth. And then I also just was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about, in light of the RNC lawsuit, if you guys are seeing roughly equal participation recruitment for both Republicans and Democrats right now, recognizing obviously that there are also libertarians and unaffiliated folks who might be thrown in the mix there too.
All right. Scott Jarrett will take that.
Great, thank you. So roughly, we are about, in our vote centers, we're currently 79% staffed. The vast majority of the vacancies are at those sites that open the day before Election Day or on Election Day. So at our 27-day sites, we're at 95% staffed. At our 12-day sites that will open in a couple weeks, we're at 91% staffed. And then at those 1 and 2 day sites, we're currently 74% staffed. At our central count tabulation center, we're currently 73% staffed. So you mentioned our warehouse workers and our drivers. So in the warehouse, we're actually at 93% staffed. Oh, the vote center numbers were from earlier this morning. Our McTech or tabulation center staff numbers were from Monday of this week. So we are at 93% staffed in our warehouse, 84 staffed in our early voting processing boards. So that'd be signature verification, that'd be those bipartisan boards that separate the ballot from the envelope. In our tabulation center, we're currently 64% staffed. The biggest vacancy there, we're currently recruiting for a second shift or a night shift that will assist with adjudication. So we still have a few vacancies there. And then our election night, So we set up receiving sites throughout Maricopa County. We invite in something what we call a red line, blue line. Those are processes where we're bringing back forms from the vote centers, as well as all those early ballots that are dropped off on election night. And we heavily rely on actually county staff from the 52 different departments to assist in those efforts. And so we've not finalized those recruitments. And so that one we're at 42% staff. So that's the biggest vacancies. And then as with any election, we always strive for bipartisan representation throughout the entire process, especially at our voting locations, as well as any of those positions that actually handle a ballot, signature verify a ballot, adjudicate a ballot in our tabulation center. And we're currently real close to right around 50%. I don't have those exact numbers today to provide you.
Any other questions, Sasha?
I'll let everybody else.
Okay.
Thank you. My question.
Remind me of your name again.
Oh, yes. I'm Kira Riley. I'm with the
Kira,
Arizona
that's
Capital
right.
Times. This could be for anyone who wants to take it, but I was just curious, in reference to like the many legal challenges or threats of like legal action the elections department and elections officials have been receiving. How has that like resulted in any significant delays or any like challenges in getting the election underway? And how have you been dealing with that?
I'll let the chairman take this one.
Yeah, no, thank you for that question. There's no question right now that elections officials across the country are receiving more public records requests or facing more lawsuits than they ever have. And so it is putting more strain on folks. But I want to be very clear about where Maricopa County is focused on. We're focused on running, as my colleague, Mr. Richer, said, the most transparent election ever, a safe and secure election. That's what comes first. That is our number one priority. Having said that, part of the transparency is responding to requests, is responding to lawsuits. So we can do both. But for our voters out there, we do not want them to think that folks that may be trying to distract us with these lawsuits, with litigation holds and things like that, if they think they're going to distract us from the important work, they're not going to. And I want to underline something that Mr. Jarrett just emphasized in the question that Sasha asked, which is we can't run these elections without members of all the political parties. They are a part of it. And so for those who would suggest that the 2020 election was rigged or those might be rigged in the future, that means that many members of their own party were part of that rigging. That's one of the reasons why I know that never happened.
Anything else, Kira? Okay. Any other questions? Box 10.
My name's Dave Sturman from Fox 10. We've heard that the Republicans in the ballot, the printed ballot, has got a undue advantage, being printed first in the list between Republicans and Democrats. Has anybody addressed that? Has anybody brought a lawsuit against the county for doing that?
I believe we've talked about this before a little bit. Do you want to talk about this, Recorder Richard?
Sure.
Yeah, this is, we print the ballots according to state law is the bottom line.
So this is a statutory prescription that's been around for some time, and so the ordering in partisan races for the general election ballot is determined by the successes of the respective parties in the gubernatorial contest that was held previously. So in our instance, that would be the 2018 gubernatorial contest in which Governor Ducey got more votes in Maricopa County than did his Democratic opponent, Mr. Garcia. And for that reason, the Republican candidates are listed first. The Democratic candidate is listed second on ballots in Maricopa County for partisan races. We do this just the same as the other 14 counties do it. We do it the same as it was done in 2020, do it the same as it was done in 2018. A lawsuit has not been filed challenging Maricopa County's ballot positioning practice.
Thank you, Dave. Anybody else with a question? All right, going once, twice? All right. Going to auctioneer mode up here. All right, thank you so much for being with us today. And of course, we'll let you know about the next press conference so we can answer your questions and give you the latest information, latest numbers of voters we've seen as well. So thanks again for being here today. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.